Would you leave your soulmate because he didn't make enough money? Would it be money love or struggle love? Or can you have love and money? This is the Love and Marriage Huntsville review. Don't go anywhere. Alright, I'm your girl Yvonne Ossei, Ossei. Let's get straight into it. I'm not going to cover everything on this episode, only the things that I think are interesting and relevant. Melody and Tiffany are having a conversation at Melody's house, and Melody lets it be known that Tiffany and Stormy, Melody's friend, can have a conversation and figure things out to see if they can get on as people or as friends or whatever. Because if you cast your mind back to the last episode, Stormy had an issue with Tiffany being smart-mouthed. And essentially what Melody means is that if the two of them figure out that they can't be friends, they can just about be associates and they can be cordial with each other, then that's okay. Like, hey, you're not going to like everybody, you're not going to be everybody's friends. And sure, that's what grown-ups do, right? We go to work with people we don't like, associate with people we don't like, go to places of study where we have to work with people or see people that we don't like. That's what grown-ups do. No, it really goes without saying, and it shouldn't have to take Melody explaining it for them to kind of get it. So Tiffany asks Melody why she didn't turn up to the book signing last episode, right? And Melody said she wasn't asked to bring her children to participate in the book signing. In fact, she was only sent an email like the day before, just informing her generally about the book signing. And she already had plans with her family, her mother, and the bereavements that they'd had in their family. So, and again, as I said previously, this was another one of Martell's attempts, it looks like, at kind of making Melody out to be the bad person by going around telling people that she just didn't turn up, when in fact she's saying that the information wasn't really relayed to her in a way that enabled her to participate, even if she would. So finally, we find out why Tiffany broke up with her ex-husband, right? The man is now deceased, but when he was alive, they were together. She reveals that even though he was a soulmate, he was very caring, everything anyone would want in a man, he didn't make enough money. Even if he was working from 4 a.m. to 10 p.m, she wanted a better standard of life, even she was working as well, and it still wasn't enough. I guess her income and his income wasn't enough to cover the household. And this is the age-old dilemma, right? Are you going to be with a man who loves you and appreciates you, but he can't provide for you financially or maybe in other ways in terms of resources? Or will you find yourself a guy who can provide for you, who can give you everything you need? Can she be blamed for wanting more if they were living in poverty or something close to it? Are some of you going to call her a gold digger? I mean, it does look like a more humble Tiffany. For the first time, she seems to be kind of owning up to who she is and maybe what she did. She said that this was her younger self anyway, she was a bit more selfish and a bit more opportunistic in that marriage. But I guess the good news is she thinks that because she went through that experience, she can be a better wife for her now current husband. Yeah, this doesn't sound pretty. It may not sit well with many people. It may leave people feeling uncomfortable. It may leave some of you calling her a gold digger even. But here she's been very raw and truthful and honest, and not many people can do that. She's owned it. Yeah, I wanted more money, and people's wants are not invalid. People want what they want. Some guys want a beautiful, slim, young girl, even though he's older, and some young girls want an older guy with money. Whatever the case may be, people have their wants, and she's admitted to it. So Leticia is invited to her sister-in-law's house, Kimmy. Right, she's invited to her house. Kimmy wants to explain about the issue that they had at the last reunion, where the host asked Kimmy if she would be friends with Leticia if they weren't in-laws, and Kimmy said no, she wouldn't be friends with Leticia. But Kimmy now wants to clarify what she meant by that comment. She meant was that she doesn't argue back and forth with her friends. So if she's at the stage of arguing back and forth with her friends, she would kind of cut ties, so they wouldn't be friends. And since her and Leticia were arguing back and forth at that time, that's kind of what she meant, that she just doesn't argue back and forth with her friends, so there would be no friendship. But today, Kimmy's saying that she loves Tisha and she wants to work it out in this friendship and sisterhood. If you cast your mind back to, I believe it was last season, Tisha gave Kimmy a real hard time because she was saying that Kimmy wasn't kind of showing up for her, caring enough for her, wasn't calling her enough, wasn't giving her enough attention when she was going through stuff. But Kimmy is a whole grown woman here in these Huntsville streets, right? Kimmy is a grown woman, she's a married woman, she's got grown children, she's kind of doing entrepreneurial things. She's busy. How can she be, constantly checking on you and constantly calling you and constantly giving you everything you need? She's not your man, she's your sister-in-law. Tisha, she has a very sensitive personality sometimes, and if people aren't kind of coddling her and kind of giving her lots of attention and giving her lots of energy, she feels kind of rejected and she can then be slightly angry. It can come across a little bit childish. So Miss Kimmy, Madame Kimmy, tells Tisha about Melody's slumber party, right? The slumber party from last episode. Tisha wasn't invited. Melody's other friend Destiny wasn't invited, but Tisha's cousin Kiki was invited. And as Melody and Tisha don't really get on, we all found it strange as to why she would then invite her cousin Kiki, knowing that you don't like Tisha. Or Kimmy also tells her that that conversation came about where Melody asks Kiki any issue had come up with Tisha's marriage to Marceau, if she had heard any rumours which made Tisha have to look at her marriage. And Kiki kind of admitted, rumours had come in the past and Tisha's had to take a look at her marriage. And those rumours, in case you don't already know, it's about Marceau's alleged infidelity. So hearing this news, Tisha is annoyed, and actually she has every right to be, because they were kind of gossiping about her behind her back, right? And I did say last episode, in my last review, that I thought it was messy that Melody invited Kiki when you're not inviting Leticia, that's her cousin. Kiki isn't that fond of Tisha, as we get to find out later on. Kiki doesn't feel much of a connection with Tisha at the moment. So maybe Kiki was only too happy to participate and to kind of nail the coffin and kind of like take a poke at Tisha. And so she turned up and she participated in that chit chat. I mean, if she really wanted to, Kiki could have attended that slumber party and just declined to comment on Tisha's marriage. That could have been the easy option, the easy way out. But she didn't. She engaged. But in my mind, Kimmy should have kept all that information to yourself, baby girl. It's not your conversation to tell. It's not your business to tell. Melody's only going to be annoyed with you, I think, later on for going back and telling Tisha what happened at the party. You should have kept it to yourself and let things materialize outside of you, and have nothing to do with it. Keep your hands clean. So Louis goes to meet Marceau at the cigar lounge, and Marceau comes in with heat. Marceau is saying that Louis said that Marceau has a bad marriage. Marceau and Tisha's marriage is bad. And so he says to Louis, who the hell are you? Who do you think you are? Who the hell do you think you are talking about my marriage? What gives you the right to talk about my marriage? And it's interesting because the potentially aggressive Louis that we saw in the last episode when he was speaking to his wife, Tiffany, and saying how he would potentially address the issue with Marceau and how he could get physical if he needed to, and a kind of tough guy type of act. That tough guy act in the moment sitting in front of Marceau, that tough guy act went out the window. I mean, Louis didn't really answer back. Louis didn't give the same kind of aggressive energy as Marceau. Louis even ended up apologizing first to Marceau. Either Louis had a change of heart before he got to that meeting with Marceau, or he got there, saw the look in Marceau's eye and said, bro, I'm not getting involved in this. I'm not going to go toe to toe with this guy because it's not going to end well. Anyhow, they shook on it in the end and kept it moving. And Maurice, who turned up later, even forced Marceau to give Louis an apology for being too excessive. So Marceau goes to his manager Mel Nika's office. They want to talk about his business ventures. If you remember the last review I did on this show, I spoke about how Martel was in all of these ventures, was getting involved in all of these ventures. Promotional calendar that he was taking pictures for. the children's book launch, the Red Wines, and now they're doing an e-book, kind of health and fitness e-book with, they want to show his muscles, they want to show recipes, all this type of stuff. And they're really on the Martell Holt train, riding this train, getting every coin they can out of this train. So here at his manager's office right now, they're talking about the cover for the book, right? Initially, they had a picture of Marcel top naked and just wearing an apron, which I think the manager came back and said, this is not really tasteful and it's not really family orientated. And she's right. It would only appeal to those women who would find Martell attractive, I think. No other person would buy a kind of health and fitness or cookery book or anything of that kind with a naked man with an apron on. But you all know that Martell likes to show off his physique anyway. He's always wearing those very tight tops and blah, blah, blah. So this is nothing new. Maybe he would have kept that cover if he could have got away with it. Melanie Conventions doing the launch for the Red Wines in a venue in Atlanta. Okay, so this is all very interesting. They want to invite celebrities. They want to invite influential people. They want them to have taste of the wine, all this kind of stuff, all the grown and sexy stuff. So Martell mentions that he wants his friends Maurice and Marceau on the guest list, and Melanica's like, are we over this whole picture scenario? Is there going to be any more gossip? Is there going to be any more messiness? That picture that was posted has everything around that kind of faded off. Melanica's whole thing, and she's right, is that she wants to start building his brand and working on his brand and stop fixing PR disasters like those pictures and the affairs and the infidelities and the kids outside of wedlock, all those things that Martell was getting involved with, causes, I guess, a stain on the brand that they're trying to build for Martell. And Melnica, as his manager, is one of those people that will have to sort it out. So she's well within her rights to say, listen, stop the foolishness. Essentially, that's what she's saying. Stop the foolishness, stop the rubbish. Let's just work on building the brand. No more PR disasters. She needs to let him know that he needs to be on his best behavior if he wants to move forward, building a brand and making money and emerging as a type of hero from this scenario. So Martell mentions that Melnica, his manager, has known him since childhood, right? They've been childhood friends. They've grown up knowing each other. And so this is the first we're hearing about it. And he says that she's always been very supportive and very caring of him. And in my mind, I just really hope that's all it is, right? I hope that they've never had any kind of romantic interest in each other. Because if they ever had, that could get messy and create all kinds of problems. So for Martell's sake and the sake of the ventures that he's doing, let's just hope that he keeps this relationship professional and platonic for his own sake. Stormy invites Tiffany for a drink so that they can try and discuss, as I said in the beginning, as Melody suggested, the issue between the two of them. And straight off the bat, the way Stormy comes in speaking to Tiffany is, for me, slightly weird. She has this kind of disingenuous look on her face. She's speaking extra slowly and she's gesticulating as if she's trying to break it down for a child to understand. And Tiffany isn't a child, she's a grown woman. And then Stormy goes in and says to Tiffany, I want to try and get to know you outside of an ignorant comment that you made. If you're asking me, that was rude and out of order. However, Stormy does go on to apologize. Stormy asked Tiffany about that whole transparency issue thing that was a thing at the reunion and afterwards about Tiffany allegedly not being very transparent. And then as Tiffany's trying to explain, Stormy kind of drifts off and says, oh, sorry, I zoned out like 5 sentences ago. And this is where the disingenuous behavior comes in. See, from the onset of their little meetup, I questioned Stormy's kind of approach and her sincerity. And they even afterwards seemed to bond over stories of kind of childbirth and family backgrounds. Tiffany says during the conversation, okay, so are we good? And Stormy says, yeah, we're still getting to know each other. It is what it is. No, thank you, ma'am. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. If I was in that scenario, I would have finished sipping my drink, got up, taking my handbag and left. This is just disrespectful. I think she was just being as kind of devious, a little bit devious, as she was at that slumber party. But either you want to be her friend or you don't want to be her friend. But don't waste her time. So Leticia invites her cousin Kiki to the cigar bar so that they can talk about this slumber party incident that happened at Melody's house. When Leticia confronts Kiki and says to her, why did you speak about me at Melody's house? Why did you speak about my marriage and my business? Kiki then refers to an incident that they had 4 years ago where they were all going to Melody's house for Christmas. And allegedly, Kiki was going through some issue, right? And then Tiffany told Melody the issue that Kiki was going through before Kiki got to her house or whatever. So basically, Melody ended up knowing Kiki's personal business, which really seemed to offend Kiki, and it felt like she had been betrayed deeply by Leticia. And you can tell that even up to now, 4 or 5 years later, she hasn't let that go. And even though they both acknowledge that Leticia has since apologized for telling Melody her business, Kiki is still angry with her, and it seems like Kiki still has her nails out ready to dig in Leticia's neck. So this begs the question, have you forgiven her, Kiki, or have you not forgiven her? And are you ever going to forgive her? Because if you're never going to forgive her, how do you two move forward? And essentially, Tisha said as much, I can't do anything more. I've apologized to you. We've spoken about this. This was 4 or 5 years ago. What more do you want from me? Kiki can't actually say what more she wants from Tisha. Tisha says in the video interview that she felt like as the intermediary between Melody and Kiki, because Kiki was going to Melody's house through Tisha felt obliged to tell Melody what Kiki's issue was. And I'm only guessing that must have been because she felt like whatever Kiki was going through was going to affect Kiki at Melody's house, right? And so she had to kind of explain that away before it happened. That in my mind must be the only reason why. Tisha walks out, goes out and gets on the phone and chit-chats with Kimmy, telling her what's happened. And then Kiki comes out, follows her around, and kind of confronts her like, who are you talking about? You talking about me? Oh, you're coming on the phone out here to talk about me? And I'm just like, whatever. Kiki, this is obviously going to continue next week because that's when this wraps up. Okie dokie, that was the Love and Marriage Huntsville review. I am your girl, Yvonne Ossei, Ossei. Don't forget to check out the playlists on this channel. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. You can also follow me on social media. On Instagram and TikTok is Yvonne_Ossei. That's YVONNE_OSSEI. On Twitter is Miss Ossei. So that's at MISSOSSEI. And then Yvonne Ossei on all other platforms. Until next time, don't do anything I wouldn't do.